Hey everyone, welcome to our video series, Ask the Lobbyist. I'm here with some legislative committee members, Ashley and Amanda. Say hi!
Hey!
And we're so excited to be able to start this series for you all. Is there anything quickly you want to say about the series and the video, or excitement about this?
I think it's just great for everyone to get to know who our lobbyist is and a little bit about what's happening.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn more myself and to work with our lobbyists on what's going on.
We're so excited to be able to bring this to you, as you can all see and feel the excitement. But before we go into the video, we just wanted to plug a couple things for you. So the first thing is that we have our annual conference this Friday, September 27th at 9 a.m. at Antioch. We have Dr. Stephen Harris of the University of Minnesota Discernment Counseling. That is a special pre-conference event that's happening and is available on a limited basis. So get in while you can. Then on Saturday, September 28th, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. at Seattle University. And the title is Expanding Relationship Paradigms, Practicing Inclusivity in Couple and Family Therapy. I'm really excited to see and be a part of the conference this year. So I think there's going to be a lot of learning, a lot of CEUs to get for those who are licensed. And for those who want to network, it's a great time to be able to see people of our field. So whether you are in Walla Walla or in Olympia, come down to Seattle, and we hope to see you all there. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on down.
Hi everyone, my name is Anthony Pennant. I am the legislative chair for WAMFT, Washington Association of Marriage and Family Therapy. And as promised, we are starting our new video series called Ask the Lobbyist. Today we have Amber Lewis with us. Hi.
Hi.
Amber is our lobbyist who has been working with us since 2014, and your company is Lewis Consulting.
Correct.
All right, so can you tell me a little bit about who you are as a person before we get into all the craziness of what lobbyists means and any of those definitions?
Happy to. So I am a crazy kayaker dog lover. So that's kind of my passion. If I can get my dog and my kayak out at the same time, I'm good to go. I started in politics when I was 16. I fell in love with just the passion and understanding that if I have a voice, I have the right to use it and I can own that voice. And I also understood at a really early age that not everyone is comfortable using that voice, and if I am, I have kind of a responsibility and a duty to use that voice for them. So I've always been drawn to causes of really fighting for those who can't fight for themselves or speak for themselves. So I found myself working in Catholic healthcare before, working for underprivileged children, underserved children, poverty areas that are lacking educational opportunities or food deserts, so that making sure that those individuals have access to healthy food so that we can have a healthy generation. So yeah, that's kind of where I fell into lobbying.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So if I could shift a little bit about how your role expands and move about with WAMFT. Currently, can we just do a quick review of our legislative year? What are some things that we've been working on that you can probably best say in the way that you can?
So always with WAMFT, we always worry about licensure issues and making sure that we're protecting our licensure, making sure we're protecting the educational boundaries that protect our license. There have always been attempts from other groups to say, well, we also want to be counselors, we also want to be therapists, but we don't want to have the hours, we don't want to have the credentials, we don't want to have the educational requirements that other credentials do. So we work really, really hard to protect that. At the same time, protecting licensure fee increases. We never want to have a fee so high that it bars people from entering the field.
I agree.
So we've always focused on that as a priority. This year particularly, we really focused on Senate Bill 5054, which was the Reciprocity bill for licensure, knowing that we have huge demand in all of our communities to get access to mental health services regardless of where you're located. You can be in the biggest city to the smallest city in Washington right now, and there is a huge demand for mental health services. So we wanted to do everything we could to support the legislature in opening those avenues to allow as many people in who are properly credentialed and properly educated to treat these individuals into the state to give those services and to help out those practitioners that need maybe bring in a partner. We can now have other folks come in and help relieve that pressure.
Personal thank you, because coming in from out of state was really kind of tough, having the whole reciprocity and equivalency moving forward with the Department of Health. It was pretty hard. So I understand, and I'm very grateful for all the work that you've been able to do with that.
It was a big bill, and it was really an honor to watch the governor sign the bill into action. the bill is now within rulemaking process, so the agency, the Department of Licensing, the Department of Health are working to figure out exactly what that standard will be and how they'll apply it, which states are already equivalent or greater than, so we can just feed those folks through. And those states that are a little lesser, or maybe have a different terminology, how do we streamline those? How do we parallel those lines together and say, just because you're using this term here, it's actually equivalent to this term here, and we can move you through. But then there will be states that are just less educated requirements to be a practitioner. So we will unfortunately not be able to grant everyone that, but I think we'll be able to get quite a few in.
Still sounds exciting being able to have that, so I'm very happy about that.
You and me both.
If I could just shift a little more about the state of mental health in Washington, and obviously this will lead to more conversations that we'll be having and some of my colleagues will be having with you today. But what's going on with mental health and access to mental health and practitioners and how we practice right now?
I think Washington is at a huge crisis moment, and I think it's going to look back at this moment and say, did Washington get it right in 20 years? I think right now we get to decide whether or not we are going to fix a paradigm that has been broken in the past, or are we going to sit back and just say status quo is okay, or can we find a new avenue and say neither of those are the right solution? We have to get innovative, we have to get creative to create access and resources for individuals who really don't know how to do this themselves. And I'm of the third belief, and Washington is going through what we call the Medicaid integration journey, starting with Medicaid because that is the largest payer in our state, and it really does drive how the commercial market reacts as well. So when you create change in the Medicaid market, it forces somewhat change in the commercial market. So focusing on Medicaid, even though they pay the least, they have the most bodies, but when we think about Medicaid or medical and mental health integration, we've done a really good job at physical health. We've said, whether or not you need your neck checked or your knee checked, we can get that done. But now by 2020, the state has said we want to roll mental health and substance use disorder treatment into that same visit. How do we create whole person care? Because most times people who have a backache may also have a chemical dependency on maybe a pain pill, but they may also have another issue outlining why they're isolating themselves from their community, or maybe they have a domestic violence and they don't understand why because they served in the military. So all of these pieces, I think, are coming together, and I think we're finally realizing that a person is a person, and you can't detach the head or the emotions from the bones. And working through that, it's been really exciting, and I think we have a long ways to go, but we have to start treating the whole person. You can no longer bifurcate the brain from the heart. They are truly one person, and when we think about how to do that, it's going to take really integrated clinical systems and a lot of professionals working together to say, okay, Mary Jane is coming in today. How are we going to help her accomplish all of her goals? That goal being weight loss, that goal being reuniting with her family and getting a job. Also, she has diabetes. How can we manage all of these pieces? And so through integration, the state has said you get one payment for all of that.
Wow.
But not all those health systems have clinical professionals. So they're saying, okay, so if I get one payment and I need all these other professionals, I need a marriage and family therapist because I have a person struggling, you become part of a greater picture. And I think it'll take those who are in small practice and large groups, but it'll take a lot of the sole practitioners as well in those communities that, need that access. So
you said a lot, and I just want to go back around just to kind of make sure that I'm understanding exactly where we are right now. So you said right now we have the integration of Medicaid into our state. So that's Washington Apple Health. I think that's the equivalent, basically. And commercial payers such as United, Aetna, all the ones that we kind of get through our major jobs. Those kind of follow suit based on what we're doing on a state level or federal level with Medicaid, Medicare. Okay. Gotcha.
Medicaid puts a lot of pressure on the commercial side because when you accept Medicaid, you're accepting a lot of lives. And so that pressure for physicians and clinicians and practitioners, it really says, well, if I have to do it for 60% of my folks coming through my door, in order to be efficient, I have to probably bend more to get that 40% in line with that 60% because I don't have the ability to have two separate books or two separate practice series. I really need one, and I need the best one I can get. And so that usually breeds change for the commercial.
I appreciate where they're going with the integrated health. And I love systemically as a marriage and family therapist about how we see treating individuals. I would love to be able to say, okay, how are you managing your diabetes? It has to be able to extend out into your home, like how can we get people in your community and your resources to be able to support you? That'd be great to be able to have that. However, I feel like this is like a battle kind of, you're right, waging. Like, I'm thinking to myself, where do MFTs sit? You know, where do other providers sit? Like, what happens to private practice? Like, how do I get a chance to be able to be a part of that if I'm a part of private practice? Like, so these are like huge questions that, like, you're right, I'm not sure if any of our policymakers have decided how they want to engage the community around.
I think we're starting to work through those. I think you're seeing the large health systems realize they can't employ everyone. I know everyone talks about, you know, vertical integrations and acquisitions and mergers, but you can only get so big, and not everyone fits into that you know, health system box. So you will rely on those other individuals who are specialized in certain fields, and that's where I think a lot of sole practitioners can still be successful. It's going to be hard because you're going to have to tie into a care model that maybe is a little different than you're used to.
Interesting.
But I think now that we're having conversations about changing the payment structures as well, because right now you won't have reimbursement for that diabetes conversation, or say that person came in and said, I've really been struggling with these headaches and these migraines. You don't get any help for helping that person say you really should reach out to your physician. But when we integrate, you will be a part of that payment model that says because you had that conversation, you get a piece of that.
That's awesome, actually.
And so it's going to change, but it's going to be rough.
Well, true, but with all things that change, I think it's not too bad to kind of be able to know that we can, I don't know how you want to say it, but to be able to affect people on a systemic level. I mean, that's pretty big stuff.
And I think when we look at the substance use disorders that are raging across our state right now, and the homelessness that we are all facing and trying to figure out how to deal with, I think it's going to take that whole community approach of everyone coming together to help those communities. You can't treat just one aspect of it. It'll take the whole person. And I think that that's where the state had great foresight to say we need to get there. But now we've got to actually put like the work to the product and say, how do we do it? How are we going to do this work and really start changing lives?
So interesting follow-up. You can tell me if like this is like a little too much of me like looking forward in the future, but how can WAMFT be ahead of this curve?
I think we were working really hard to be ahead of the curve. I mean, one, getting out in front of the Reciprocity bill, we were one of the first people to reach out to Senator Oban and really say, how can we help you? The National Association, AMF, helped give us some language that they'd used in other states that we really were able to work with Washington to make sure that it had the best language for reciprocity of other licenses. So I think we are trying to work in front of that. Part of it is, one of the things we've realized is our work doesn't stop just at somebody walking through our doors. For instance, we've worked really, really hard with the Department of Labor and Industries to say, how can WAMFT members and WAMFT certified individuals help injured workers get back to work, because not all of that, again, is a physical injury. So we've said, let us help these individuals by reimbursing us and accrediting us to do that work. So now we have the ability to help injured workers who are suffering from maybe that person got injured in a physical way at work, and not like broken bones way, but maybe they were accosted by a patient, or maybe they were trapped in an elevator, and that creates a different mental health situation. And now we're able to say, you don't need they don't need the doctor per se, the traditional, doctor. They need a clinician who can help them process through their mental health situation. And that's where we've been really thinking, how many other groups out there can we help?
It's very exciting.
It is very exciting. It's been a great work product.
Cool. Hi everyone, I'm Anthony, Chair of the Legislative Department, and I am here with Amber Lewis. Hi Amber.
Hi.
So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what is a call to action.
The call to action is a very important piece of the advocacy group that we utilize when I have identified, or the board has identified, or the legislative committee has identified a key issue. For instance, last year on the reciprocity bill, we'll use that as an example. There were a few moments that bill kind of got stalled in the process. The legislature's a bit of a beast, and sometimes bills fall by the wayside, but this was a really important piece of legislation to a lot of groups. And so the few times it stalled, I was able to work with the legislative committee and say, I need a call to action. I need this letter or this email sent out to the members, and hope that they would then turn around and write their stories to their legislators. And so we provided some templates. I had multiple calls with members to help them figure out how to use their voice and how to write their emails from their own viewpoint. But it was those call to actions that really helped move that bill along the process. And We weren't the only group that did those call to actions. A lot of folks did it, but a call to actions is a really important piece of advocacy if done right. The thing with call to actions is you don't want to overuse them.
Mhm.
So when a legislator saw WAMFT call to action, they knew like, wow, I haven't seen one of these in a while. It must be important. And that's the value of them.
That's what we call intensity in family therapy, everyone. That's cool. So in your description, I have a description of how I think members can be involved, but what would you say how members could be involved for legislative and policy support for WAMFT?
So for me, I am not a professional in your field. I am just the conduit that helps the professionals achieve what they need to legislatively, regulatorily, and I can't do it alone. If there is an issue within the industry or within the credential, I need help understanding that. I can speak to some of it, but I am just a lobbyist. I am not the person sitting in that room facing the clinic, facing your patient saying, I have to figure out how to help you. And so I think it's really important that people get involved for a variety of reasons. One, to be a voice for your patients. First and foremost, you know more about what's happening in the mental health space than anybody because you're behind the closed door really hearing and seeing the needs that folks are really going through. Me, I need help because I am not behind that closed door. I'm in Olympia doing the best I can, but I don't live and breathe this every day, all day, and I'm not credentialed in that profession. So I need those people to partner with me and say, this is how I need this regulation to work. This is how I think this bill should work. And I don't need you to tell me the verbiage. I need to understand the application of it.
Gotcha.
So that's where I think I need folks to be willing to come to Olympia, and I make it as easy as possible. As you know,
Yes.
You came to Olympia this year. I take all the scariness away. I do make you wear running shoes because it's very fast paced.
Yeah, we were all over the place.
It's very, very busy and very, very fast, but there's no reason to not come to Olympia. There's no reason to be scared. I can make it as easy as possible. And even if you don't want to speak publicly, we can do one-on-one meetings with private individuals. We do some bigger group meetings where you can be a part of a larger group dialogue. But I try to make it as easy as possible so there's no reason for no one to feel that they can't participate in advocacy.
I mean, it definitely is quite easy, and I understand that, some of the members are saying, well, it's a day off of work, and I have to be able to do it, and I have to travel all the way down to Olympia, but I thought it was quite rewarding because I think the time that we spent there, I really felt like I was giving back, and it's pretty beautiful at the state capitol.
It's pretty nice. I have to say I have one of the greatest offices in the state, but it is a day off work. But I think if you're willing to understand the value of advocacy, which is if for some reason, say a group came along and said, well, does WAMFT members need to exist? We have faced folks who have said that our license is not necessary anymore, that we can consolidate licenses and do away with WAMFT. We've worked really, really hard to say, well, wait a minute, there's not another license equivalent to ours on education, hours, all of those practicum pieces. So why would they want to do away with it? Well, we had to stand up and say why, and I need members to be a part of that because if you don't come to Olympia and help me explain the why, you could have been wiped out. So that's why advocacy is important.
Scary but true.
Scary but true.
So for all of you watching, there is another way that you can be involved also too. I want you to click on the link that you see below, and you can give through our Action Network, or just want to add your voice and become a part of either WAMFT or the Legislative Committee. Reach out and contact us at WAMFT@WAMFT.org. It's pretty easy. WAMFT@WAMFT.org. WAMFT@WAMFT.org. Thanks so much for taking the time with us today and talking to us and giving us a lot of your knowledge and just allowing us to pick your brain. So thank you.
Happy to, and I hope to see you all in Olympia.